My, Ramaho, Nia, Nia.
Things are not so horrible. Now you're not my oracle.
Well, perhaps the most recognized facet of Adam Green is his musical career, which spans the last 25 or 30 years. In fact, a tribute album to Adam has just been released, called Moping in Style, a double LP that includes versions of his songs performed by artists such as Sean Lennon, Regina Spektor, Devendra Banhart, Jenny Lewis, The Libertines, and many other great artists.
Then you were my passenger. Different.
Today I want to focus on Adam's drawings and paintings, and on his work as creator and protagonist of his film Adam Green's Aladdin, which I saw one night several years ago, and saw again recently, having a few beers, and I said to myself,
an interview with Adam Green about Aladdin.
So, here we are. Hello Adam, how are you? It's a pleasure to have you here at Midnight Music Review in the Attic. Are you in New York? You've lived there all your life, right?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm in Brooklyn right now, Brooklyn, New York. I've lived in New York for my whole life. I was born in White Plains, and then I grew up in the suburb of Mount Kisco, New York, and my parents moved to the city when I was 17 years old, when my dad got a job as a professor at Columbia University, so I came with them.
Fine. Well, first of all, let's watch this commercial that was made for Adam's movie, Aladdin.
You know, the world can be a pretty dull place. We do the same things day after day. Eventually, people start to want something different. Yeah, people really want to shake it up sometimes. At least they think they do. Because when something truly strange comes knocking on the door, well, they want no part of it.
Huh?
In a world where everyone is seeking everyone else's approval for every little thing they do, we're here to tell you that Adam Green's Aladdin isn't approved by anyone but ourselves. Hell, they preferred if we all just went away. But if we did, then you wouldn't see this. And this. Or this. And what the hell is that? Hey, who's that guy? Where's his face? Oh, don't even get me started about this right here. Yes, if you want something really different, we've got just a bag of weirdness for you. Adam Green's Aladdin, where anything can happen. See you soon.
You wrote the script, painted the sets, are the protagonist, and recorded all the music for the film. In the commercial it says that it was rejected from a lot of festivals, including several important ones like Sundance, Tribeca, New York. Is that true? You sent it to all those festivals and they rejected it? Because I think they should have considered your enormous work as a creator, even if they should have made, perhaps, a special category to include it, like art film by multidisciplinary auteur that creates a whole DIY world or something like that.
Yeah, so that's unfortunately true. When I was finished with the movie, I mean, I'm a film outsider, but I was working with real screen actors like Natasha Lyonne and Macaulay Culkin and Alia Shawkat, and I kind of assumed that the film would play at film festivals, and I submitted it to like the ones that I'd heard of. But yeah, kept on getting all these rejection letters, and people didn't really want to play it. Eventually some festival like Queens World Film Festival that did it at the Museum of Moving Image played it and gave us like an audience award, and I think actually it won some kind of little film festival in Italy, but basically it was rejected from from pretty much all the film festivals. And I actually don't really feel like people really understand really what the movie is. I mean, you know, if you kind of think of it as, you know, something that's kind of a visual art project, like you would kind of miss the fact that the script took years to write. And I feel like if you just look at it as like some kind of weird surrealist script, you would be overlooking the fact that it took a team of gazillion people, like, tons and tons of hours to make this completely handmade world. And sort of in a way almost the opposite of the sort of Dogma 95 thing that I grew up with, that sort of where, you know, you're supposed to use sort of like the real things that are in the room. This is actually the opposite of that. This is where a world of complete artifice, where every single object in the entire movie is a handmade constructed sculpture. So I don't know. I just think that people were kind of confused by it.
City's so unclean in a Washington machine, and your face is like a cage and two of them, and your sentiment is gone, and you're now enslaved by gods, while I strum my broken legs like a banjo.
Adam, where did you set up all those sets to film the movie? We could say that it is a film made of cardboard, paper mache and glue. God, where is all that now? It's in your attic. You financed the film through Kickstarter. How much money on glue did you spend?
So the Adam Green's Aladdin movie was filmed in a 5,000 square foot warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn, over a very sweaty summer. It was a really hot warehouse with no air conditioning. And we built 30 rooms out of cardboard and paper mache and paint and glue, and about 500 props that went into the rooms. And then when we were done filming, the people that worked on the movie took a lot of the props home, and then, you know, unfortunately a lot of it was destroyed. And then I kept some for an art show. Eventually, some of it got sent over to Switzerland for a show at the Foundation Baylor Museum, and then back to New York, and a lot of it kind of ended up kind of broken and stuffed into a very crowded storage space in Red Hook that I still have, and who knows if it will ever see the light of day again. But in answer to your question, I probably spent thousands of dollars on glue and house paint and all kinds of things. We raised about $50,000 on Kickstarter, but it ended up costing a ton more than that. We ended up having to get investors, my friends, Swiss investors from, that were from Zurich, that helped fund the movie, and even that wasn't enough, and I ended up having to fund a lot of it myself. So it was a real expensive endeavor, but well worth it. And also, if you want to watch the Adam Green's Aladdin movie, you can watch it for free on YouTube. Just type Adam Green's Aladdin full movie. And there's a documentary about how sweaty and nuts the production was, called The Making of Adam Green's Aladdin. You can watch that documentary on YouTube as well. So so there's lots of documentation of this crazy summer.
Mom, I'm not sure if Uncle Gary's really our uncle, and also on that walk we took, he tried to kill me.
Oh, Aladdin, don't be so hard on him. Uncle Gary is a complicated man, but he's been very generous with us.
But he was still trying to sacrifice me on top of a mountain for a god.
But he made me a great frittata.
Look, check this out.
Who's that?
I'm the guy who knows what time it is.
Mustafa, print us a luxury living room.
Okie dokie.
I found a video of an exhibition at the Whole Gallery of New York with many of the papier-mâché objects you created for the film. Is it true that you made them with recovered telephone books? I don't think anyone in New York would have imagined that their phone book would end up becoming an asparagus chair or a shit sandwich.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, one thing about paper mache and the way that we would do it is it's kind of like making a mummy, where you dip strips of newsprint into a mixture of that we would make out of just glue and water, and you do multiple layers. And so we needed a ton of newsprint, and it was still like kind of the tail end of the time when they would drop off phone books in front of everyone's door. Figured people weren't really using them, so we would just go around the neighborhood scooping up phone books, and one of my favorite things about it was that there were the yellow pages and the white pages. So you could do a layer with the white pages, and then you could do the next layer with the yellow pages, so you could tell the difference and see what you had already covered. So so that's a good strategy, is use different colors of newsprint if you want to make multiple layers of paper mache.
This statuette that maintains distinctive characteristics of Garfield the cat is like a synthesis of the character, or that deformed head of Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles, which in the movie is the head of the storage eunuch. So, you take characters of popular culture and you reduce them to a minimal, compact expression, like a symbol, which in fact reminds me a lot of pre-Columbian writing, like that of the Mayans. What does this process mean to you?
So basically, at some point I took the facial features of popular characters, cartoon characters like Garfield, Elmo, and Big Bird, and I reduced their facial features down to these simple, cubic, square kind of reductions, sort of like an alphabet of building blocks, and I could use these building blocks to reconfigure them to make architecture and design out of them. And I called this alphabet House Face. So House Face is a sort of symbolic logos sort of alphabet of my universe, which is called Regular World. And so in this sense, the entire world is built out of hybrid materials. So they're sort of encoded with this sort of sentimental language of, I guess, of childhood. So that is the terrain, that is the world, the sort of metaverse that the movie takes place in, is made out of those pixels.
Average cabbage!
It's the next contestant on the Sultan's virtual reality show. Everything we used to call porn is now our culture.
The princess is a connoisseur of trash.
I'm just a cool cat in a small town.
Just a cool cat in a small town, working my ass on a wall bound, waiting to groove in a hip town. Get down!
Here we are seeing a little more of Adam's art. The way you have distorted Mickey Mouse, who I think you call the comedian, into a totem, a monstrous deity from a primitive culture, or a mandala, or even in this terrible paper mache shoe. Look what this obelisk has gone through. This is a series of drawings of saints. God. And this Donald Duck, beaten by a violent drug, decomposed, pierced by a tornado of knives, and finally compacted and transformed into a possible letter of an alphabet that only exists in your mind. Adam, tell me more about all this. I'm fascinated by what you do.
So the Mickey Mouse series is from an art show I did called the Transfiguration of the Comedian for a art show in Athens, Greece. And so Mickey Mouse in my regular world universe is known as the comedian, and sort of like a cartoon god. And I wanted to show, so I got interested in the idea of sort of like the transmigration of the soul as like an avatar. And I wanted to show like the different ways, the kind of just different ways that this sort of soul could journey from everything from like, it could get sort of, like sliced and diced as a sausage in time space, or it could be like, sent from the beginning of time to the end of time as like an avatar shooting down, a blockchain tunnel, or it could be, actually kind of almost have like a mystical afterlife experience where it could attain some kind of, a transcendence, or it could almost be like cross-sectioned, or even like put up to the face of reality, like as sort of a almost like a sausage, or like a Rothko, or like a Rorschach Rothko, that would like kind of like as if when you see like slices of like an animal pressed up against the slide. I was looking for all these different ways. This soul could be pixelated, or it could be somehow cosmically stretched, or mutilated, or even sedated, or anesthetized almost to submission. So there was all these sort of different ways that the soul was treated in this show, and these are just different ways that like emotions I was having, I was trying to illustrate in the, but in a way I think I take a symbol like Mickey Mouse that I am very familiar with how to draw the anatomy of, and then this way I can sort of torture the symbol until it can kind of do whatever I want it to do. So that's sort of my strategy towards working with symbols. I think I'm a symbolist artist.
This world runs on worlds. It's a cannibal universe.
Everybody always feeding off of everybody's privacy. Mustafa, print us some caviar and toast.
We all fight for privacy, and we all lose the fight. Virtual reality show. It's a pornography of the soul.
Princess Barbara, it is the law that if you're not married in a month, I have to execute you.
So that we can film the second season of your virtual reality show?
Love is not a savage form of publicity. Besides, I like to fuck average people.
We are fighting the war on privacy. The virtual reality show is the next frontier.
King of Kings, in accordance with your wishes, all exposed people will now be developed.
Well, here we see the Sultan's palace, which is a mix of Big Bird and Garfield. Coming to what is said in that scene, tell me, Adam, looking at the world as it is today, do you think the Sultan has finally won the war against privacy? As you say in one part, everybody always feeding off of everybody's privacy.
Yeah, well, I just think that it's really hard these days to even talk about privacy, because I feel like when people do talk about it, they rarely start with the foundational statement that like privacy is something that we value and we think is important. And so even if we're going to talk about suspending it for a reason to achieve some kind of specific societal goal, that it's still important and we still want to try to keep it, I just don't hear people talk about it that way, and I don't feel like the sense that people around me really care that much about privacy. People are always like, oh, what do I have to hide or something. It's like, well, it's not really about that. I mean, I just think that society as a whole benefits from people kind of feeling comfortable, like they have generally kind of like an autonomy to do what they like, unless they want to, share it with people. It's kind of like generally not, people's business if it's not really harming that other people. So I don't think that anything's really going to change unless people actually start saying that privacy is important to them and, making decisions based on that.
Ciao. Ciao. Uncle Gary, what's that? Are we not supposed to be here?
Yeah, this place is also a graveyard for aliens. The Lumombrians.
The Lumombrians? Are aliens natural?
Sure, all technology's natural. Look, God equals humans divided by nature plus aliens.
When Uncle Gary says on the mountain, all technology is natural, I always found the term artificial intelligence confusing, because in fact computers are made with elements extracted from the earth, from nature. There is nothing artificial. Uncle Gary is talking about that.
Yeah, I think that sort of the idea was, if you look at your iPhone, your iPhone is, in fact, natural. And, I feel like sometimes when I'm looking at water, I feel like I can see electricity running through it, almost like there's, gleaming of microchips inside of the water. And I feel like, in a way, the ocean is sort of nature's iPad, I think a lot of the way language is used in Aladdin is, to try to sort of, kind of use the idyllic meaning of words, sort of like the Platonic ideals. So, something like the iPad becomes a tablet, as much as like a tablet that Moses received the 10 Commandments on or something, and sometimes I think when I'm writing on my phone notes, I feel like this is sort of the, this sort of idyllic tablet, almost like, I think in Jewish mysticism, like Kabbalah, there's sort of an idea that the Torah was written with a black flame on white flame. And, this is actually, to me, what the iPhone notes looks like. When you're writing on the notes, it looks like you're writing that way. So yeah, I think that there is sort of a funny kind of back and forth in Aladdin between nature and technology, and maybe conflating them and saying they're the same thing.
Adam, tell us something about the equation. God equals humans divided by nature plus aliens.
So the equation, God equals humans divided by nature plus aliens, is an equation that is given by Uncle Gary in the movie that's played by the genius comedic actor Jack Dishel, who also plays the Sultan, does double duty. I just think that is honestly just something that I thought of when I was really, really stoned. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and it just seemed like completely true to me, and I just put it in the movie because it just seemed like it was true, and I hope people can relate to it.
You see that traffic light? I'm gonna get that for you. And that bike, and that pickaxe, I'm gonna get that for you too. Mustafa, print us out a shit sandwich.
Haha!
What is this? It's a shit sandwich. Who gave this to us? Get
Hey,
rid of
man.
this shit sandwich.
We don't want your
What the
shit
hell?
sandwich.
Let's print out some ecstasy.
I wonder what self-realization would mean for a guy like me.
It would probably be pretty ironic. What does ironic mean anymore?
Ironic is what comes after modern. Everything after modern is ironic, including all of E-history.
Aladdin tells the princess that ironic is what comes after modern. Could you expand on that a little?
That was really because I was, when I was growing up in the 90s, people would kind of criticize artwork by calling it ironic. Like people would say, oh, did you hear this, this song? It's just some stupid ironic song. Or like, yeah, this movie is just some, dumb, ironic, hipster, BS. So I was thinking that maybe people could own it because, a lot of art movements got their name from people criticizing it, like Impressionism and Fauvism. Those were originally, negative things that were said about those artists, and then that became the movement's name. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe, all the art that's made after the postmodern era might be lumped into being something that was just categorically called ironic art, regardless of whether the people who made it were being incredibly sincere. They were self-conscious enough to understand postmodernism to the point that they had a context for themselves, and and that they were participating in an ironic art movement regardless. So maybe those institutions like MoMA or or like the Tate Modern, if there was a new museum that had only art that was sort of postmodern and beyond, could be called, the New York Museum of Ironic Art, or the Tate Museum of Ironic Art, or something.
How many of these Aladdin passports are we gonna make?
7 billion.
Maybe his next album could come with a free pack of cigarettes.
Maybe his next album could be a pack of cigarettes. He's just turned so massively nihilistic. First with all the cocaine, and what's he even celebrating?
Well, I guess an artist is a captain at sea, just keeping a ledger.
Artists are people who are constantly in search of the reason why people like them. Only in his own world can he feel handsome.
Adam, when are you going to release an album that is a pack of cigarettes with a QR code to download it? It would be so great.
I still think that's a good idea. I mean, maybe like you could put out an album with something that people were going to use anyway, like some toilet paper or a bottle of conditioner, or maybe like a 6-pack of beer, so that people didn't feel like they were just wasting their money. But I honestly feel also like if everyone that bought an album of mine back in the day gave me a few dollars now, I would be set for years. So that would be pretty good.
We like everybody in some kind of debt. That way we get the most amount of work out of them, and they're too emotionally distracted to rise up against us.
I'm so hungry. I'm fat.
An emotional tax will be necessary as well as an economic one. Firstly, we can extract psychic debt using Wi-Fi. Now, Wi-Fi is basically a video game that simulates drowning. Timing is everything. Time versus choice. And it's because choices take time that we can really drown them in Wi-Fi. For example, a mandatory app we developed called Thanksta. People have to thank everybody for thanking them. It's an endless thank loop. They'll never have time to leave the house again.
Get your canned lamps here. Canned lamps. Free and magical 3D printing. Lamps in a can. Hello, sir. What will you print?
Thanks. I'm gonna print a jungle of pornography.
Hello, ma'am. What will you print?
I'm printing a living bird inside my brain.
Print me a digital pickaxe to mine digital space bugs.
Print me a contact lens that teaches my eyes to think like an insect.
That's cool.
Print me a robot that thanks all my friends for thanking my photos on Thankster.
I like everything. Some things I like a lot, but other things I just like.
Print me an asparagus chair. Wow! Whoa! Ah!
Let him speak!
Yeah, why doesn't everyone pipe down and let him say something? This place is starting to look like Hollywood. You're just gonna print out an analog version of the internet, and there's no room for it. And since we are bound to this planet, industry and production can't mirror the infinite expansion of the universe. Though we fantasize about filling the stars to their brim, we must change the nature of what we wish for.
Tell me about the magical Americans. What the leader says when he is decapitated at the end is so true. We must change the nature of what we wish for. Otherwise, with infinite printing, we are going to fill the cosmos with asparagus chairs, vampires in submarines, pointy boots, and infinite shit. In fact, we have already collapsed a planet.
Ralph, the head of the Magical Americans, which is a rebel army that's pitted against the totalitarian and materialistic sultan of regular world land. He's actually the rebel leader. Ralph is played by the great actor Macaulay Culkin. He gives a speech to the people of the town saying they have to change the nature of what they wish for. You see, what's been happening is that my lamp in the movie is a 3D printer, and it's been printing out all of these wishes for people, like some of them that you mentioned, like asparagus chairs and pointy boots and jellyfish algorithms and the hair from last year's haircut, everything you've ever lost. and in a sense, there's sort of this idea that it's going to print out an analog version of the internet and fill the world with crap. And this movie script was written in the wake of the Occupy Wall Street movement. So there was definitely something in the air about that we had to change the nature of what we wished for, or the planet was going to collapse and the economy and the world was going to collapse. I think it actually reminds me a little bit of this sort of AI doomsday scenario called the paperclip theory, where, it's in this sort of thought experiment, an AI is sort of told to build a paperclip and then ends up, not only building a paperclip endlessly with absolutely no governance of what it's doing, but it would kill you to build a paperclip out of your belt, or it would fill up the whole planet with paperclips and junk. And so the idea of an ungoverned machine with no hand outside the machine to regulate it, would just sort of ruin the world without even trying. That kind of reminded me of that. But definitely the idea of printing out an analog version of the internet was sort of the idea of that statement.
Sorry, Adam. I wasn't paying attention to you. I'm on Thankster. Well, friends, now we'll leave Adam Green's Aladdin and watch an animated trailer that was made to introduce one of Adam's graphic novels, Subcultural Karate Turtles, featuring his song Red Copper Room.
Spare lives, maybe 3 spare lives. The ocean is ugly and everyone is blind. Lady Sophia in the red copper room. Lady Sophia in the red copper room. Can't be acquired and it can't be felt. Have an unlimited supply of yourself. Lady Sophia in the red copper room. Lady Sophia in the red copper room. I met a maid just down the line. She showed me everyone's outside. It was a danger to mankind. 10,000 reasons floating by.
Well, Adam, can you tell me a little about your graphic novels, Subcultural Karate Turtles and War and Paradise? I was looking War and Paradise from the free PDF that can be downloaded from your website, and I thought it was just as great as your movie, one great idea or concept after another.
Thank you. So I do kind of see myself as a writer, as sort of a collector of concepts. And that's something I've done since I was a teenager with a notebook. I just sort of decided that I was going to write down all the concepts that I was thinking of in my head and, collect them as a giant, never-ending scroll of ideas. And I kind of just draw from that. I mean, I've been writing in a never-ending scroll for over 20 years. And I have lots of lines and also lots of kind of dialogue that I'll make stream of consciousness. And I'll give the lines to different characters that I have in my head. And every few years, I'll make a movie, or in these cases, graphic novels. And the story behind the graphic novels is pretty much that I wanted to make them as movies, but I couldn't get funding. So they became graphic novels. And for example, War and Paradise is from a screenplay that I wrote for a movie, and it's exactly the same as the movie I was going to make. But I drew it with my friends Toby Goodshank and Tom Bain. We just sat around a kitchen table listening to Billy Joel for 5 or 6 months and drew this epic graphic novel, War and Paradise, that illustrates a war between humans and these sort of robotic insects that are manufactured by a sort of Google-like company. And there's a giant conspiracy in the afterlife involving a sort of almost like Rodney Dangerfield as Donald Trump type character. So you get kind of an exploration of the afterlife, and I read a lot of different texts about the afterlife, everything from Egyptian kind of things to the Tibetan Book of the Dead and Christian afterlife, different kinds of afterlives. So yes, you get kind of a, and then the Subcultural Karate Turtles is a graphic novel that I also did with Toby and Tom, but it's basically about it's sort of about cultural theory. It's about the idea of, I consider myself to be a subcultural artist, and so I grew up looking up to other subcultural artists such as William S. Burroughs, Alejandro Jodorowsky, Harry Smith, Patti Smith, and Basquiat. And those are the Ninja Turtles and the Master Splinter in the case of my Ninja Turtles, and they live in a subterranean, subcultural layer of consciousness, and then when they arise above ground, they're in the mainstream, which is, in this case, looks a lot like the era or the time of the Japanese woodblock prints. So like this sort of Edo era Japan in the floating world. So anyways, that book is actually presented as aliens that are at a kabuki play about subculture, and then the curtain opens and then you see this play about subcultural karate turtles as the kabuki play. It actually has the kabuki tropes, different kinds of themes from kabuki, devices from kabuki, which I was researching about during the quarantine. So these are sort of some interesting comics, War in Paradise and Subcultural Karate Turtles. And you can either, you can actually get PDFs from them. You can just download PDFs of those comics from my website, adamgreen.info, if you want to read them on your iPad or something. Or you can order physical copies of those books from Pioneer Works. Pioneerworks.org, I think, is the physical publisher of those comics. So either way, check them out. Thanks.
And please, Adam, also tell us something about Medieval 1000 Years of Dark Ages.
Medieval 1000 Years of Dark Ages is an epic poem that I wrote a few years ago. It is a dystopian epic poem where the future is seen in medieval terms, and it has all these concepts like, crusader knights that are invading Silicon Valley, Jerusalem, or like three-headed quadrillionaires that are hosting these crazy decadent like ketamine banquets and drinking out of noise-canceling chalices, or the freaker wizard Merlin, who is hacking the hard drive of the universe, and an avatar soul migration, almost like the Renaissance, where avatars are kind of like entering into the afterlife through the blockchain. It was this sort of interest that I had at the time in this sort of eschatological, like medieval, eschatological and messianic idea of AI. Basically, and you can actually watch an animated movie of this poem where I read the poem, and then it's animated like a medieval scroll by my friend, the animator Tom Bain, with drawings that I did. And you can watch that on YouTube. Just type Medieval 1000 Years of Dark Ages, Adam Green, full movie. And there's one version that has parts 1 through 5 all as one big, like 45-minute movie, and you can watch the whole poem. I hope that you like it.
On the medieval hard drive of the universe, in a pre-Columbian video game, boats that sail between computer systems, an ocean in between hard drives. According to eHistory, we lived in biblical internet times. We had bug poison all over our souls back then. We were all living on the coastline of the brain, landlords of self, playing with our soft Roman pinball machines, with engines stitched down the marble seams.
Well, right now I really want to poop, so we've reached the end of this episode, which was number 12. That's one whole year of midnight music review in the attic. Thank you very much, Adam, for being with us tonight, sharing your work. I am a fan of what you do, and it has been very interesting to listen to you. We'll see you in the next episode. Good night. Bye-bye.
Baby, come dance with me. Baby, come dance with me on TV, at the TV station. Baby, come dance with me. Baby, come dance with me on TV, at the TV station.
My. Ramaho. Nya.